General Counsel for the California Association of Realtors. He's a very wise man. Please welcome Doug Hutchinson.
Okay. Morning. How's it going? Why am I here, you're wondering? I'm here to update you. Do you want to know the latest? Yeah. Do you want to know all the new forms and all the new laws? In 15 minutes, okay? I'll talk fast. Let's start with the new laws. How many laws do you think the governor just signed? 846. Wow. How many am I going to tell you about? About 6 or 7. How's that? Just the really important ones. Are you ready? Things realtors need to know. Number 1, the Department of Real Estate is coming back. No more BRE, it's back to the DRE. How many of you just bought a million signs that say BRE on it, right? That's okay, you can still use it, you're not going to get in trouble. But the official name, July 1st, is going back to the DRE. You can change it now, you don't ever have to change, nobody cares. But I just want you to know. Now, number 2, the really important law, you ready for this? I think you're all ready for this. January 1st, realtors, you have to put your license number on everything. Today, all you have to do is put your license number on your business card, your website, your Facebook page, and that's it. Starting January 1st, flyers, newspaper ads, magazine ads, social media. You send out, use Twitter, you send out a tweet, you better have your license number on there. All flyers, you better have your license number. All signs have to have your license number. In fact, they all have to have 3 things. Number 1, your name, your license number, and your broker's name. The brokerage name. You don't need the brokerage license number, but you need your name, the broker's name, and your license number, not the broker's license number, on everything, okay? Everything. The only thing you don't need license numbers on are directional signs or open house signs. Those can still be generic. But no more blind ads on Craigslist, call John, I'm a realtor. You have to put the broker's name, the company name, that is your name, and the license number on everything, including social media, every Facebook post, believe it or not. Question?
My personal Facebook or my,
Your business, but not your personal, your business Facebook, okay? Everybody ready for this? January 1st. What's the penalty? $250 per violation, and they're not going to warn you. They're just going to fine you. Day is the DRE. Now think about this for a second. There's 200,000 realtors. How many people work at the DRE are possibly going to be working on this? About 4 people. So you figure, I'm not going to get caught. You know who's going to get caught? Realtors who turn in other realtors. So, you got any competitors out there you don't like? Start looking at their signs and their ads and turn them in. All right, you with me on that? Know the law. If you're a broker in this room and you have any broker associates working for you, by January 1st, you have to register their name with the DRE. Today, you don't. Today, if I'm a broker and I got salespersons working for me and broker associates working for me, I got to register all my salespersons, but I don't even have to tell the DRE that I have broker associates. Broker associates are independent. That all changes January 1st. If you're a broker, there's a new form just came out, Form 215. You got to get a hard copy. You can't do it e-licensing. Just file a hard copy with the DRE by January 1st, listing any broker associates you have working for you. If you're a broker associate, you don't have to do anything. It's your broker that has to do it. Okay? Look at that? What else is going on? Okay. If any of you guys are landlords or property managers, there's a bunch of new things starting January 1st. Number 1, you got to give all your tenants the bed bug form. Don't mess around with those bed bugs. Give every single tenant the bed bug form. What if a tenant has bed bugs? Well, you got to get rid of them. Can I evict the tenant because they have bed bugs? No. That's what the whole point of this law is. You can't evict them. Can I make the tenant pay for the cost of getting rid of the bed bugs? If they brought them in, how are you going to prove that? Right? If you can prove that, you can do that. Okay, number 2, starting January 1st, if you're a landlord, you must tell your tenant if you're in a flood zone. How do you know if you're in a flood zone? Because when you bought the property, you got an NHD report. The NHD report told you if you're in a flood zone. What if you say to yourself, I have no idea, up to 10 years ago, I don't remember that. I guess you better order a new NHD report than that to see if you're in a flood zone. But this is only for new tenants. Your existing tenants know, but any new tenants starting January 1st, there's a new paragraph in the lease agreement that talks about, is the property in a flood zone? Got that? So the bed bug form you have to give to all of your existing tenants. This new thing on the flood zone is only on new tenants effective January 1st, okay? Another one, if any of you have rental properties where the tenant pays their own water bill because they have a water meter directly to their unit, there's a new form called the water meter form, which you got to give to all your tenants by January 1st. Isn't it fun being a landlord? What else is new? Do you know marijuana is legal? Yay, just kidding. Do you know a landlord, you still can prohibit it even if they have medical? HOAs can prohibit it too. The only right you actually have, if you own your own single-family detached home, you can have 6 plants for your own use. I've had realtors come up to me and say, hey, I got buyers come up to me and says, can you find me a house that's good for growing marijuana? Remember, you can't just grow it for commercial purposes unless you get a separate license, which is kind of complicated. All you can do with Prop 64 is grow 6 plants for yourself. If you're 21, if you're in a single-family detached house. Okay? Now, is that 6 per house or 6 per person over 21? It's per person over 21, so get more roommates, you have better... You following me here? Okay, all right. One more thing, there's a recent case where the seller was growing marijuana inside the house. They stopped, then they sold the house. Buyer moved in, the neighbors said, hey, you know, the guy at the house you bought, they were growing marijuana. The buyer said, nobody told me. Buyer sued the listing agent. You should have disclosed that. Buyer won the case. So you know what, if you're a listing agent and you know your seller was growing marijuana, disclose it. If you've heard me before, you know there are only 2 things you used to have to disclose about it that happened in a house. Somebody died there, and the house used to be a meth lab. Right? Easy to remember, right? Death and meth. Well, now based on this case, it's death, meth, and marijuana. It's not as easy to remember, but I'm sorry about that. All right? What else is going on? If you deal with HOAs, have you noticed they sort of gouge you for the cost of the documents, like the CC&Rs and all that stuff? Well, there's a new law that says when you sell a condo, the HOA has to notify the seller that we cannot make you pay for documents that you already have a copy of. In other words, sometimes the seller already has the CC&Rs. They just sold another condo in the same building. So why should they have to order this $500 worth of documents if they've already got a copy, right? Well, there's a new law that says the HOA has to tell you if you've already got a copy, you don't have to, just tell us which ones you want. We can't charge you for all of them like they do now. Like now, if you need one document, the HOA can charge you for the entire package. So starting January 1st, they can't do that. That's not a big thing, but that's something, okay? That's enough new laws, don't you think? You want to know anything else? No, that's all you need to know. How about new forms? I know you're excited about new forms, right? You don't sound excited. Okay. I already told you there's a new bed bug form, right? I already told you there's a new water meter form. The tenants paying their own water bill. The lease form is going to change because now it's going to have a bed bug paragraph. It's going to have a water meter paragraph. It's going to have a marijuana paragraph. It's going to have a flood hazard zone paragraph. By the way, there's another new law that says landlords cannot disclose the tenant's immigration status to anybody. Some landlords actually try to use that against their tenant. You know, if you don't pay this under the table rent, I'm going to turn you in. By laws, none of you would do that, I know, but by law you can't do that. Okay, so changes to the rental, to that form. Have you noticed there's been a change to the listing form? Did you notice there's no more arbitration paragraph in the listing form? Did you notice that? It's because it's been causing a lot of problems. What's been happening is when listing agents sign the arbitration clause in the listing form, attorneys and judges use that to drag the listing agent into a buyer-seller arbitration. When you don't want to get dragged into that because they always make you pay. So we don't think it's a good idea if you're a listing agent to commit to arbitration with your seller, so the paragraph is actually removed from the listing. Now, if you still want it, if you don't care what I say, if you say, I don't care what you say, Gov, I still want an arbitration paragraph, a concept between me and my seller, we do have you can just do an addendum, right? We have an arbitration, one-page arbitration agreement, which you could do as an addendum to the listing contract to sort of bring it back.
Short enough.
But that's up to you. But the point is, it's no longer on the listing, if you notice that. All right? Okay. 3 more forms are coming out next week. No complaint. None of them are mandatory, and they're all good. Number 1, we got a form called the Property Images Agreement. I just call it the photographer form. Have you ever taken a listing and hired a photographer to take pictures? The question is, who owns those pictures? Photographers have been suing realtors saying, hey, those pictures showed up all over the internet, all over the world. You got to pay me every time that shows up. You know, things like that. So anyway, if I were you and a listing agent hiring a photographer, I would get this new form. It's called the Property Images Agreement. And it basically, the photographer gives to you all the rights to any pictures they take. Okay? Good idea. Second thing, there's a new form coming out called the Team Agreement. It's pretty obvious what that is. A lot of realtors now, they don't just work for a broker, they work with other realtors as a team, right? The problem is they don't necessarily put this in writing. So then, of course, there are problems like, you owe me this, or you owe me this, or how much commission do you get, or what if you leave in the middle of a transaction, or what if you want to take your clients to a new office. In other words, what are your rights regarding when you're a team? What are your obligations and your responsibilities as a member of a team? So we suggest that you use this form because it sort of spells out what the rights and obligations of a team member are. Okay? By the way, if you're a member of a team, did you know that on your marketing, the team name can be no bigger than the company name? Did you know that? Plus, you have to have the real name of at least one of the team members and the DRE number of that person, right? So let's say I was a realtor, Gov Hutchinson. I work for Culver City Realty, right? But I have a team, I call the Hutchinson team. I take a listing, I want to put on the sign, listed by the Hutchinson team. Well, the words Hutchinson team can't be any bigger than Culver City Realty. If it was just me, right, listed by Gov Hutchinson, my name could be bigger than the company name. Doesn't matter. There's no law. But if you mark it as a team, the government says team name can be no bigger than the company name, and you need the real name of one team member and the DRE license number of that person. Okay? And guess what? Teams have to use the word team, group, or associates. What if I want to call my team the Hutchinson Gang? Doesn't that sound cool? I can't do it. The Hutchinson Posse. No. Team, group, or associates. Can I call my team Hutchinson Realty? No. You'd have to call yourself the Hutchinson Realty team at Culver City Realty. See what I'm saying? There's special rules with team. Do you have a question? Yeah. Good question. Does the team have to register the name? And the answer is no. If you follow the rules I said, it's no DBA, no fictitious name, doesn't do anything. What if you do want to call yourself like the Hutchinson Gang or something? Then you have to apply for a DBA. Maybe they'll approve it, maybe they won't. But you do have to approve it. But if you call yourself team, group, or associate, you don't need a DBA or anything like that. Okay? One more form. So we got the team agreement, right, and the photographer form. Last form, it's called the amendment of existing terms. You know we got this form called the addendum, right? Generic form, addendum. So you normally use that form, you make an offer, right? And you don't have enough room on your offers to say what you want. So you attach an addendum. You put your extra stuff on the addendum. Remember when you submit that, that's part of your offer. To accept the offer, the seller has to sign the contract and the addendum. Sometimes I see the seller, they sign the offer, but they don't sign the addendum. They figure, oh, we got a deal, we just don't have the addendum. It's all or nothing. If there's an addendum that's part of an offer or a counteroffer, the other side has to sign the addendum and the offer, or else it's no deal. But anyway, we got this form called the addendum, right? Well, what if you're right in the middle of escrow? You're already in escrow, and the buyer or the seller wants to change something, right? You could use the addendum form, but we got a new form that's better. It's called the amendment. Why is it better? Because it has a time deadline. You know, let's say you're in escrow and the buyer submits an addendum and the seller doesn't even respond. So you say, oh, the heck with that, I guess we're not going to do that. And then 3 weeks later, the seller says, okay, I accept your addendum. And you said, I don't want that anymore. I said, why not? I mean, you gave it to me and I'm finally getting around to sign. You know, there's no time limit. So this new form called the Amendment of Existing Agreement, AEA, Amendment of Existing Agreement, has a 3-day limit on it. It's like, here's the change I want. Respond in 3 days. Just like when you make an offer, right? You're supposed to respond in 3 days. So if they don't respond in 3 days, they're basically saying, no, I don't want your amendment. And it also has a place for them to respond. So it's almost like an offer, right? So my point is, in my opinion, I would use the addendum when I'm negotiating the offer in the first place. But once I'm in escrow and I want to change, or I'm in a lease form and I want to change something, I use this new form called the amendment. Not the addendum, the amendment to existing agreement. Because there's a nice way to get the other side, there's a time limit they have to respond. I mean, you don't have to use this. If you want to use the old addendum form, you can, right? But I just think this is a sort of a better alternative. You with me on this? So that's all you got. That's not bad, right? New forms. That's not bad. New laws. What are you complaining about? Okay. Is there anything else you should know? And you tell me when to. You'll tell me when to stop. Right now. 1 more minute. Remember the most important case that the courts decided this year was the Haricki case, which is the dual agency case. If you haven't heard about this case, what this case now says, if you have a listing and the buyer's agent is also in your office, right? Or you have a buyer and the listing agent is also in your office, you are a dual agent. It's not just your company that's a dual agent, you personally are a dual agent. So you got to get to know that other person because that's your client. And you have to treat them as if they were your client because they are your client. So it's almost like every deal now that's in-house by 2 different agents, the 2 of you are a 2-person team for this deal. You can't say, well, I'm the buyers and you're the sellers. You're both. And you both have increased liability and responsibility. How many of you have ever double-ended a deal yourself? Right? Most of you. You know what it's like to represent 2 people in the same deal. Well, now it's going to happen more often. Because it's not just when you personally have both, but it's when you and someone else in your company has both sides. You both have both. You're a team. You can't say this one's buyer's mine and yours is the seller. You're both representing both. So you got twice the work for the same commission. Isn't that great? Yes.
All right. So you have, okay, let's pretend we're a Coldwell Banker.
Right.
Arcadia.
Right.
And you're the listing agent.
Right.
And the selling agent is Coldwell Banker Pacific Palisades.
Right.
You're now a dual.
You better drive over to Pacific Palisades and meet that buyer. And it's interesting you said Coldwell Banker because that's Coldwell Banker's business model. 1 broker, thousands of agents. Now, if you work for like Keller Williams or Remax, each individual office is an individual broker's license. So that's not dual agency. You're one Keller Williams and the other, and the listing agent is another Keller. It's only if it's within the same brokerage. But as she said, Coldwell Banker's business model is 1 broker, They're all corporate owned. So this case affects Coldwell Banker more than any other company in the state.
Just for clarity.
Yeah.
Coldwell Banker has a franchise.
And there are franchises too. Yeah. Coldwell Banker does have franchises, but a lot of them are corporate owned. You're right. Any more questions? Yeah.
Broker owns more than one office.
Good question. What if a RE/MAX broker owns more than one office? Sometimes they set up different corporate licenses for each branch, so those wouldn't be the same company. But if it's the same broker's license, I mean, just because it's the same owner doesn't necessarily mean the same broker license. Don't focus on the owner, focus on the license. That's what makes it a dual agent. Okay? If you have any questions, running out the door. No, I'll hang out for a while. Okay. See you later. Thank you. Bye.